Hey everyone, SilverCon Trail here. Once again, we're doing an article aftermath video, and the last week's been pretty busy for me. I've been working on this new computer, trying to get that up and running, so I've been trying to catch up with the rest of my stuff that I'm doing, plus the articles, plus we just had a sneak preview weekend, so there's all these new cards that I need to read up on and make sure I know what they all do, which involves a lot of playtesting. Unfortunately, I wasn't able to attend a sneak, so I'm stuck trying to pick up the pieces and see where everything kind of fell in terms of the prices, what people are interested in, what people are starting to put together. And then, of course, this weekend we have the actual release of Judgment of the Light, which I'm looking forward to, hopefully getting some stuff from that. I know I'm really looking forward to a couple of the secrets in the set. Lots of good secrets. That's really cool. That's something I really like about Judgment of the Light. I don't know how much I'll get because I kind of want to go for their monster box thing. You get 9 packs and like 2 promo cards or something. I don't know. And then I think some sleeves or something like that. And that's gonna retail for like $30. That I think comes out in September, so I'm kind of looking forward to that. Plus the tins obviously coming out soon-ish, which should be pretty interesting if we already know that Bear's going to be in them. I definitely want to pick them up because I'm trying to build Constellars as well. So a lot of different things going on with me, and this weekend definitely is going to be pretty busy trying to pick up a bunch of new stuff for my airplanes. More on that later. But I do want to talk about, of course, my last article last week went up called The Ultimate Pegasus Challenge. So that's what I did when I was at the WCQ on Saturday. I didn't make it into the actual main event because I went to one last chance qualifier, and I was so tired that because Doug Zief, the other writer, we walked from, let's see, we got off the bus, we walked down to our hotel. Our hotel wasn't ready to check in yet, so we left. We walked around, kind of around the block, and we watched this seagull eat a bunch of pigeons, and the police officers almost shoot it. That's another story. And a bunch of other things. And then we went back to the hotel. Once again, they weren't ready, so we skipped out of there, went all the way down to Navy Pier, and this is, of course, carrying the bulk of our stuff. We dropped off some stuff, but I'm carrying like this backpack with like 2 trade binders, my mat, a tin, a deck box, way more than I needed to bring, and I'll remember that for next time. Like, definitely carry light, like 1 trade binder, 1 mat, 1 deck box if you can afford it. But I thought we were going to be able to check into our hotel earlier, so I'm like, oh, whatever, I'll throw this on. Walk down there. And we get down there, everyone checks in, we all get our wristbands for the event, and then I don't remember if Doug goes to register then. We drop off the other 2 people we're with, they kind of do their thing, and then we leave like a half hour later to go to lunch, which is back by our hotel, past our hotel. So we go there, we eat lunch with Jason Meyer, with the other TCG writers, Zach and Thomas, and we also got to meet Draw Pro Winston, which was really cool. So I sat next to him while we ate at this place. I don't even know what it was called. So we left after there, and actually it was just as I was standing up from the table that my legs had just locked up completely, and I was like, crap. I was so sore when I stood up. I knew I was going to be in for a lot of pain that weekend, and I definitely was. I was suffering all weekend because it was so painful. Anyways, by the time we got back there, it was like, probably like 5-ish, 5:30. There was like one more LCQ that I could get into, and I went in, I registered for that, played my first round. I had picked up the stuff from my deck at the last minute, and so I sat down against a Frog Monarch, or a Lancer Frog player, and I just did awful. It was terrible. Like, I completely forgot I had a 3rd Tempest in my deck when I could have gamed him. I just neglected to remember what cards were in his hand, even though he tried to use an Electric Virus on my turn. And I'm like, oh, now if he had an Electric Virus, let me go ahead and summon a Scrap Dragon so he can take it instead of a perfectly valid Thought Ruler. It was a bad experience. So anyways, he games me in Game 3. Very close duel, but I was just, I was so tired and I misplayed, and it was whatever, but I was kind of frustrated with that, so I went home and I'm like, you know what? Screw this. So I played the 2 people I came with, again, Doug and my other friend were both running Madolches, lost to them both. I was like, okay, so I need to change something. So I put together a deck that I call Lightning Dragunity. And this deck is pretty simple. Basically, you use regular Tempest Dragunity, which you're unfamiliar with. It's basically just Dragunity with Tempest Dragon Ruler of Storms, or whatever it's called. And it's really fast. It's got a lot of aggressive OTK plays. It's very vulnerable to a lot of things, and very prone to self-destructing, as I mentioned in the article. But I'm like, okay, well, I'm going to throw more like gunpowder on the fire and see what happens. So I put these like powder kegs next to this like already short-circuiting deck. I'm like, okay, well, nothing can go wrong here. And I do that by adding in 3 Gusto Griffin, or actually 2 Gusto Griffin at the time, 1 Windar, Sage of Gusto, 1 Cam, Serenity of Gusto, and then a Lightning, the baby dragon for Tempest, and then I go with that. And so this deck is a lot more explosive. You can do a lot more things, and I ended up running that at the locals recently. Did pretty well there, got like 2nd place or something. Anyways, I take that there, and we wait around, and then finally get into the Pegasus Challenge. First round, play against Evil Swarm, which is by far my worst matchup. And it's just first turn Ophion set 3. First turn Rabbit into Ophion set 3. And for any deck, that's pretty tough to get past. And for Dragunity especially, I opened up with a bunch of high-level monsters, and I'm like, nope, not doing this. And then game 2 was kind of more of the same. Wasn't really able to get started, and then he got an Ophion on the board. Before I could really do anything, I opened up into kind of like a hand that required me to set up for my next turn, and at that point he already had the Ophion, so it didn't really help. And then 30 seconds after I can see that duel, Pegasus is like exchange monsters on the field or something like that, but it really wouldn't have made a difference, because it probably would have been, the way it would have worked is it probably would have benefited him still, because he could have made the Ouroboros and then taken whatever I had still. So it wasn't like a huge deal for me. Like, it was kind of like, whatever. But best case scenario is I could have won that, and I probably would have lost my second round. So game 2, or match 2, round 2, I'm playing against Prophecy. And game 1, of course, goes usual Prophecy shenanigans. But he's got, I have Ravine and Zephyros. I discard the Zephyros to search, and when that resolves off of Ravine, he plays Droll and Lockbird. And I'm like, what? What is this game 1 Droll and Lockbird doing? And why is it in my face? The only time it would ever be relevant is when I'm doing that sort of play, when I'm discarding something to add Phalanx. Usually either I'm discarding a Tempest, another Wind, to add the Phalanx to hand, or I'm discarding the Zephyros so that I can bounce the Ravine and do the same play again. Somehow the guy has the Troll right then, exactly when I need it. So I'm like, whatever, okay. And then I proceed to lose the duel because he drolls me, and yeah, there isn't a whole lot I can do. Game 2 is the usual OCK. With this deck, I was citing something I got from another YouTuber, which was 1 Blaster, 1 Horse level 6, and 1 Horse level 8. Again, Bo Butler talked about Horse level 8 as a side deck card against Prophecy, and I think it's a good card for certain decks that can perform the Tribute Summons very regularly and then lock up the opponent, either with effect negation or some sort of destruction negation, which in my case, Horse level 8 plus a Stardust Dragon generally is going to let me win, especially against Prophecy. I mean, obviously, it's not going to do a whole heck of a lot against Dragon Rulers, because they can take it out with any of their Xyz monsters or with Blaster's effect. So, Horse level 8, not being the greatest card in the world, but it's still really good against Prophecy for obvious reasons. So you play it, and then, yeah, they lose pretty quick. And my monitor just died. Anyways, yeah, I ended up just about to go for that, and then he scooped pretty much right away as soon as he saw me adding the level 6. And then in game 3 was kind of more of the same, and Pegasus let him really go into overkill on me. with being able to flip back his stuff. And then the third round, I played against a girl, and there were two more girls sitting next to me. Pretty much like all of the girls in the tournament were like right next to me, and it was funny. She definitely was a more casual player. She was kind of like, yeah, whatever, and kind of like set some in the Laquari set two, and I'm like, okay, heavy storm. They're both set torrentials, and I'm like, why would you do that? And then proceed to go off, and there was really nothing she could do at that point. And I'm like, yes, I summoned Autumn and or a tomb, Hieratic Dragon of a tomb, and it wasn't Valored, and I didn't get hit by Maxi, and I didn't get hit by Droll, and I did explode into a million pieces because I ran into Gores. For once, I got something to go off, and of course it was against a more casual player. Pegasus had left to go do signing. She wanted to quit, so I was like, okay, well, I'll just do game two. I'll just OTK real quick. And so that's what I ended up doing. And then, like 10 seconds after I win, Pegasus is like, oh, by the way, destroy all monsters on the field. So, yeah, going quickly when you have game, that's what you want to do for sure. And then round 4, I played against Evil Swarm again. But this one was interesting. Like I mentioned in the article, we drew from our side deck for our opening hand, and it really messed him up. And then throughout the duel, Pegasus kept locking up his effects, and it was really bad for him. And I was able to basically beat face with Horus level 6 for a bunch of turns. So I gotta thank Pegasus for that. He definitely let me do really well in that matchup. And I don't remember what happened game 2. It was either like I OTK'd right away, or something of that. I don't know. I'm not sure what it was. He definitely didn't. I think he got out Ophion, and then I breakthrough skilled it or something. I don't really remember. That whole weekend is fuzzy because so much happened. But yeah, I thought it was a really cool tournament. If you have the opportunity to go to an Ultimate Pegasus Challenge, I would definitely suggest taking it. Sure, the prizes aren't exceptionally great. You're not going to go into a Attack of the Giant card and win a $1,500 card. You're not going into a Win-A-Mat, retailing the mat for however much those go for. But what you're doing is you're having a ton of fun in the meantime. So if you're not, you don't want to go in and be like, I've got to win so I can make my money back, so I can pay for my hotel fees, then I would definitely suggest going to an Ultimate Pegasus Challenge when they have them, which I hope is more in the future. Darren Dustan, I keep wanting to call him Roberts. Darren Dustan was a really cool guy. He was, I talked to him at the autograph signing the next day, and I was like, yeah, I was in the Pegasus tournament. It's too bad you had to leave and all this stuff. And he was like, yeah, that's cool. Yeah, he was, very, very cool about it. And then, of course, Eric Stewart was too when I talked to him. I had them both sign the YCS Providence mat that I had picked up recently. And I was like, okay, so I know, I was talking to Eric Stewart. I know Kaiba isn't on here, but can you sign something maybe by Yugi, maybe make a short quip on him or something like that. And he's like, well, we don't want to make fun of Dan Green, so all right. And so he writes like Kaiba on Yugi's arm like it's a tattoo. And it's really funny. And I had him sign a Blue Eyes White Dragon. Yeah, I had Darren sign a Toon Table, and then I had Eric Stewart sign a Blue Eyes White Dragon with. I had him, sign his name and then sign on the art of the card. Too good to rip. So it's not playable because he wrote over the text, I guess, but that doesn't, matter to me if I'm not going to a tournament. It's a really cool thing to have. So definitely, YCS or YCS or any premiere event with voice actors, that's really freaking cool. I mean, that's something that you don't have other card games really doing a whole lot of. And it's something sort of exclusive to those, to the fans of the series, to the fans of the original series, and I definitely like to see from the original series or from 5Ds. Thankfully, I haven't seen anyone from GX. I didn't like GX personally. Please don't dislike this video because you actually like GX. I really didn't like it, but to be fair, I didn't watch the seasons that everyone says are really good, which is the later season. I absolutely loved 5Ds. I thought it was great. Although I did stop watching that as well after the Darksiders arc. And then the original series I stopped watching pretty much towards the end of the Elemental or the Legendary Dragons arc. I kind of gave up on that. So there's a lot of nostalgia there, especially to go meet someone who voiced Brock. I mean, Eric Stewart voiced Brock, and James, two pretty popular characters as well. So it's a really cool experience, definitely. And I feel like not enough people at the tournament, took advantage of that almost. It was like, do you guys not want to go get in line and get autographs? I mean, it's the voice actors for the series, but that was kind of my inner geek, and it was for me one of the highlights of the trip. Besides being able to meet all the TCG player writers and sit down for lunch with them, which was really really cool. So I think that about wraps it up. Next week, we'll be talking about something. I'm kind of trying to plan out things because we are reaching the end of the format. That's a thing. And I think next time I'll have some dual videos in the background of my video, and I'll have to test it out. Again, I'm still working with my recording software, and things are being kind of awkward, and the programs that I'm using are conflicting with each other. So yeah, I think Doug's got an article or a video going up pretty soon. DZeef on YouTube, I believe is what it's called, his channel, and we have a discussion on there with talking about the power creep, and then next week with kind of the format wrapping up, we've got let's see, at least like 2 articles. Let's see, next week and the week after, before we kind of know the ban list, maybe one more. Just looking at kind of when my deadlines are, and I really don't want to write at that last minute before the deadline, because it'll go up and it'll say a bunch of things and it'll be like, oh, by the way, none of this is relevant anymore because the ban list just did something. I don't know what. I don't want to write a set deck article for a deck and then suddenly that deck doesn't exist anymore because all the combo pieces are banned. So different things to look at going forward into August. Get a couple of different decks I want to talk about. So I think next week I'll talk about something that isn't quite out yet, and then the 20th and the 27th probably have some stuff on Fire Kings and Fire Fists, because they're kind of relevant again. And by the time the 27th rolls around, hopefully I'll be writing in the context of the new format, quote unquote new. So we'll see what happens. Everything should work out pretty fine, I hope. And I'm going to go back to playing Minecraft. So until next time then,